When photographs and videos began circulating online, showing a cheetah cub romping joyfully with a scrappy little puppy, people stopped scrolling. Their first reaction was disbelief. But as the details of the story emerged, that disbelief gave way to something deeper, a quiet sense of wonder at what life is sometimes capable of producing when no one is looking. Consider what a cheetah represents in the popular imagination. These are the fastest land animals on Earth, capable of accelerating past 60 miles per hour in just a few seconds. Lean, precise, solitary by nature, they are creatures built for one purpose: to chase, to catch, to survive. Their entire existence is shaped by instinct and independence. The idea of a cheetah forming a genuine emotional bond with another species, let alone a domestic dog, seems to contradict everything we think we understand about them. And yet, as this story shows, nature occasionally ignores what we think we know. Kumbali was born on May 12, 2015, at the Metro Richmond Zoo. From his very first hours of life, it was clear that he had arrived at a disadvantage. He was the runt of his litter, smaller, weaker, and far less capable of competing for his mother's milk than his siblings. In the early days of a cheetah's life, that kind of disadvantage can be fatal. His stronger littermates pushed him aside instinctively, not out of cruelty, but simply out of survival. And Kumbali fell further and further behind with each passing day. The zookeepers watched his condition deteriorate and knew they were running out of time. The decision to intervene was not an easy one. Separating a cub from his mother carries its own risks, psychological as much as physical, but there was no other path forward. The staff pulled Kumbali from the litter and began round-the-clock bottle feeding, giving him the nutrition and warmth he desperately needed. Slowly, steadily, he began to recover. His body grew stronger. His appetite returned. By outward appearances, he was becoming a healthy young cheetah. But something was still wrong. The longer Kumbali spent apart from his family, the more impossible a reunion became. When the staff attempted to reintroduce him to his mother and siblings, the response was swift and devastating. They rejected him completely. The family that he had been born into no longer recognized him as one of their own. For an animal as socially vulnerable as a young cub, that rejection left a mark. Kumbali became withdrawn. He moved less. He engaged less. There was a flatness to his eyes that hadn't been there before, a quiet kind of grief that even his caretakers could feel when they watched him. The zoo staff understood that what Kumbali needed wasn't more medical attention. What he needed was a friend. Finding the right companion for a cheetah cub is not a simple matter. The animal would need to be confident enough not to be overwhelmed by Kumbali's size and energy, gentle enough not to provoke his instincts, and young enough to grow alongside him. After considerable searching, the team identified a candidate, a shelter puppy named Kago, who had recently been rescued from an overcrowded animal shelter through the efforts of local animal welfare activists. Kago had already known uncertainty and loneliness in his short life. He had spent time in a place where futures were never guaranteed, but he had survived it, and the people who knew him described a puppy full of warmth and unshakable energy, one who seemed almost constitutionally incapable of giving up on connection. When the zoo staff heard his story, they felt something click into place. Still, no one could predict what would actually happen when the two animals met. Cheetahs and dogs occupy entirely different corners of the animal world, and regardless of Kumbali's gentle upbringing, his instincts were still those of a wild predator. The first meeting was watched with the kind of tense, held-breath anticipation that precedes something potentially wonderful, or potentially dangerous. Kumbali and Kago regarded each other with cautious curiosity, each animal taking the measure of this strange new creature in front of him. Kumbali went still, studying the puppy with wide, focused eyes. And then Kago did what puppies do. He simply refused to observe any boundaries. He bounced forward, sniffed enthusiastically, pawed at Kumbali's legs, and made it abundantly clear that he had already decided they were going to be friends. For just a moment, Kumbali froze, and then, almost visibly, something in him let go. He responded. He batted at Kago gently, he moved, he played. Within minutes, they were chasing each other through the enclosure. What unfolded over the following weeks and months was a friendship that seemed to deepen with every passing day. They chased each other through the grass, invented games that made no sense to any observer but clearly made perfect sense to them, and curled up together at night, Kumbali's soft rumbling purrs mixing with Kago's slow, contented breathing. Zoo visitors began gathering specifically to watch them together, and more than a few people left the enclosure quietly, looking thoughtful in a way they hadn't expected when they arrived. As they grew older, their personalities continued to complement each other in ways that consistently surprised the staff. Kago developed a calm but unmistakable protectiveness toward Kumbali. Whenever strangers drew close, the dog would position himself steadily between the cheetah and the visitors. Not aggressively, but with the quiet assurance of someone who has decided that this is simply his job. Kumbali, for his part, showed a patience and trust around Kago that he displayed with no one else. He would wait for Kago to eat first before approaching his own food, a gesture so small and yet so telling that it stopped the keepers short the first time they saw it. The bond between them continued to grow in unexpected ways. Each year, the zoo celebrated their birthdays together, watching the two of them investigate their gifts with an enthusiasm that was equal parts endearing and comic. When new animals arrived at the zoo, Kago and Kumbali were reliably among the first to approach, their own improbable friendship having apparently given both of them an unusual openness toward the unfamiliar. One of the most talked about moments came when a group of penguins arrived and found themselves being curiously inspected by a cheetah and a dog who seemed genuinely delighted to meet them. The penguins, after a period of suspicious observation, eventually accepted the pair as part of the broader community. Before long, all of them could be found engaged in something that could only be described as collective play. What Kumbali gave Kago was protection, presence, and a gentleness that ran deeper than instinct. What Kago gave Kumbali was something perhaps even more essential: the knowledge that he was not alone, that rejection is not the final word, that the world contains warmth if you are willing to stay open to it. Both of them arrived at this friendship having already lost something, and both of them found in each other something they hadn't known they were missing. Their story is easy to sentimentalize, but its real power lies underneath the sentiment. It is a story about what becomes possible when vulnerability is met with openness rather than fear. When two creatures, shaped by entirely different histories, operating by entirely different rules, decide, whether by instinct or by choice, to trust each other anyway. The walls we build around ourselves rarely feel like walls from the inside. They feel like wisdom, like caution, like self-preservation. Kumbali and Kago had every reason to maintain their distance, and they didn't. And what they found on the other side of that distance changed both of their lives completely. If you were moved by their story, please share it, leave a comment, and spread the word. Every share and every expression of support reaches the rescue teams and animal welfare organizations who made moments like this one possible. Together, we can help build a world where more animals and more people find the companions they deserve.